Welcome back to our series examining the hidden structures of American power. Today, we look at the National Football League, a devastating medical discovery, and a 15-year campaign of corporate denial. By the early 2000s, professional football was a multi-billion-dollar enterprise woven into the rhythm of the American calendar. The sport's dominance relied on a specific trust between the league and the public. The game was violent, but catastrophic brain injury was treated as a solved engineering problem. The architecture of modern equipment, heavy layers of plastic and padding, implied that athletes were safely shielded from the thousands of high-velocity collisions they absorbed every season. This assumption of safety was the foundational economic premise of the sport. It allowed parents to confidently hand their children over to youth cackle leagues every autumn. In September 2002, the body of Hall of Fame center Mike Webster arrived at a Pittsburgh morgue. Iron Mike anchored the Steelers through 4 Super Bowl wins, but spent his final years homeless and mentally disintegrating before dying of a heart attack at 50. The pathologist on duty was a Nigerian immigrant named Bennet Omalu. Having grown up with a passion for soccer, he had no investment in the reputation of American football. He sectioned the brain and looked only at the tissue. Omalu found something that did not match any textbook description. Abnormal clusters of a protein called tau were accumulating densely around small blood vessels and deep within the folds of the cortex. He labeled the condition chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. Medical literature had recognized similar deterioration in boxers for decades. Finding that same pathology inside a decorated football player shattered the protective mythology surrounding the sport. Omalu had identified an existential threat to the league's business model. If the central mechanism of the game caused brain disease, then the league's safety claims were a form of false advertising. The NFL responded with a coordinated campaign of manufactured doubt. This was a refined sequence of corporate behavior, tested and perfected over 40 years by the tobacco industry. Their first move was an attempt to force the medical journal Neurosurgery to retract Omalu's peer-reviewed paper. It was a direct effort to scrub the finding from the scientific record. The league's brain injury research was led by Dr. Elliot Pellman. Pellman was a rheumatologist, a specialist in joints and autoimmune disorders. He had no professional training in neurology, neuropathology, or the biomechanics of brain trauma. Over 13 years, his committee published 16 studies. The league's repeated conclusion, based on its own internally produced research, was that no NFL player had suffered lasting brain damage from playing the game. The NFL wasn't just declining to fund independent research. It was generating a parallel body of literature, authored by its own employees, and citing those findings as an objective verdict on the question. By 2009, mounting independent research forced the issue into the political arena. Congress summoned league leadership to testify about the mounting evidence of head injuries. When asked directly if football caused long-term brain damage, Commissioner Roger Goodell refused to say yes. Under oath, he told the committee he was not a medical expert and deflected questions about causation for over 2 hours. The resulting pressure triggered a wave of lawsuits from over 4,500 former players. In 2013, the league reached a settlement that headlines characterized as a billion-dollar reckoning for brain-damaged athletes. The actual text of the agreement contained a significant exclusion. While it covered diagnoses like dementia and ALS, it explicitly barred future CTE cases from automatic compensation. Financially, the settlement was less than a catastrophe. The entire 65-year payout obligation amounted to roughly what the NFL earns in corporate sponsorships during a single season. The settlement functioned as liability management. It allowed the league to wall off its most damning diagnoses for a price the organization could comfortably absorb. The league maintained control through its funding. After donating $30 million to the NIH, the NFL used a backdoor veto to block a major study on living patient CTE diagnosis because it was led by a league critic. Instead, the league promotes equipment engineering, like the Guardian Cap. Helmet technology is a comfortable corporate solution. It generates positive press and focuses on better gear rather than the fundamental physics of the sport. But physical evidence was accumulating elsewhere. At Boston University, Dr. Anne McKee was building the world's largest tissue repository for the study of CTE. The deaths of stars like Dave Dorison and Junior Seau transformed brain donation into an act of advocacy. Their families donated their tissue to ensure the damage they witnessed could be documented. A landmark 2017 study from this lab found CTE in 99% of the NFL brains donated for study. Every 2.6 years of play doubled the risk of developing the disease. Despite PR maneuvers and funding restrictions, the physical evidence in McKee's freezers made continued denial unsustainable. The ultimate response to this evidence took place in the decision-making calculus of millions of individual households. Since 2016, tackle football participation among children aged 6 to 12 has dropped 29%. Families are instead embracing flag football, which has now surpassed the tackle version of the sport for young children. The NFL's 15-year effort to control the science only delayed the transmission of the truth. It ultimately triggered a grassroots cultural shift that is altering the landscape of American youth sports. This investigation is detailed in Volume 5 of our 30-volume series, titled The Hit That Wouldn't Stay Buried. The complete book is available now through Amazon bookstores. Please subscribe and click the notification bell to support our ongoing research. Thank you for watching.